Business Bedside Manner, it's your approach. Who are you in business? Who do you think you are in business versus how other people see you in business? And how do you show up? There's a big disparity between who we think we are versus how other people see us. And Business Bedside Manner is that challenge to that approach, really looking inward at that approach.
Welcome to the Hotel Moment podcast, presented by Revinate, the podcast where we discuss how hotel technology shapes every moment of the hotelier's experience. Tune in as we explore the cutting-edge technology transforming the hospitality industry. Hello, and welcome to the Hotel Moment podcast. I am your host, Karen Stevens, the Chief Marketing Officer of Revinate. And today we are excited to speak with Mandy Graziano, a dynamic leader with over 20 years of experience in the hospitality industry and a podcaster herself, hosting the Adventures in Business podcast with her co-host, Amani Roberts. Mandy has made a name for herself as a best-selling author, tactical sales coach, and a passionate advocate for refining business relationships with what she calls Business Bedside Manner. Currently, Mandy is the Vice President of Global Accounts at HPN Global, where she has played a pivotal role in shaping their site selection and venue finding services. With her extensive background and expertise in both hospitality and sales, Mandy brings invaluable insights to our conversation today. So what a fun conversation I had with Mandy. We have so much in common. I used to live in San Diego. She's based in San Diego. She teaches at my alma mater, San Diego State University. She loves negotiating. She's a podcaster. She loves hospitality. I mean, I just think you're going to find her to be a very dynamic and insightful guest. So here you go. I give you Mandy Graziano. Hi, Mandy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, nice to see you.
Well, it's great to see you too. You know, I do these a lot, obviously, and my team always prepares an info sheet before we get going here. And I started to read all about your background and your current experience and the fact that you're a podcaster. And I'm like, I feel like this is my sister from another mister. So it's really great to have you here.
Feel the same. I'm excited.
So good. So you've had such a diverse career in hospitality. Can you tell us what first drew you into the industry? So what was your first interest here?
I feel like growing up in a big family in Ohio, we've always been hospitable. You know, we were the house. It was 4 kids, 2 parents. You know, in Cleveland, Ohio, in a suburb of Cleveland, there's always food in the fridge. There were always people coming and going. I feel like hospitality's in my blood. In fact, I was just back in Ohio yesterday to visit with some family, and when we arrived on Sunday, and there was no room in the driveway. The parking spaces were all full. And I said, I feel like we grew up on a street called South Gateway. I said, I feel like I'm at South Gateway. I think it's always been in my blood. And then my very first hospitality job was, I think I was probably too young to work. This was probably illegal at the time. I was 12. And I worked at a banquet and conference center where they hosted weddings and reunions and a bunch of social events. And so on Saturdays, I would hostess and welcome people, point them to the right room because there were 8 banquet rooms. And I don't know if you remember this, Karen. Do you remember that signage way back when, like in the late 80s, early 90s, that had it had the white plastic words, and you had to like put them in the felt
in the actual bracket?
Yes, the brackets that like crushed your fingers. I had to do that for 8 weddings, and every wedding has 2 names. So that would be my first task when I would arrive at the banquet center, is make the signs, then greet everybody. And then the next day we would show up and I would vacuum 40,000 square feet of space. And then I eventually got promoted to dishwasher over the summer. So I think it's always been in my blood, but my actual first job was at a banquet and conference center.
Wow, that's incredible. And, fast forward to today. So let's talk a little bit about what you do today at HPN Global. So you work with a lot of hotels in this space. So what does HPN Global do, and what's your role there specifically?
Yeah, so Hospitality Performance Network Global we are one of the world's largest venue and hotel sourcing companies in the world. So we find hotels and venues for people all over the world for their conferences. So it could be a board meeting for 10 or a large convention for 10,000. And we find hotels and venues. We negotiate all the pricing, all the contracts. We turn it back over to our clients to plan. But if our clients don't have a planner, somebody might be on paternity or maternity leave, we actually have a whole team of people that can plan their meeting for them. So start to finish, we're a meeting planning and conference planning company. And for years, so I've been with HPM 15 years as of next month. But for years before that, HPN was my largest client when I was on the hotel side. So they approached me a couple times over the years, and I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready yet. And then the stars and moon aligned 15 years ago, and I was ready to come to the other side, the dark side, and be a client of the hotels where I had worked for the hotels for a really, really long time. So I do that. I find hotels and venues. I negotiate contracts. My strength is in building these really deep relationships with our hotel partners and negotiating contracts. I'm a weirdo that just loves a hotel contract. And then, you do it for a while, and then you get to a consultative part of the program with your customers. So that's where I'm at right now with my customers.
I love that. Again, sister from another mister. I am also a very big fan of negotiating. And I think that it's a skill that not a lot of people are comfortable with, right? Which is odd to me because I do feel like a good negotiation means that both parties walk away feeling like they got a great deal. So do you want to talk a little bit about why you're so passionate about that and how you train that in with your team and what's your approach to it that you think makes it successful and fun?
You're speaking my love language, Karen. I love talking about this because, like you said, it's taboo. People don't want to talk about it. And when you don't talk about something, you don't get good at it. The only way we get good at negotiating anything, whether it's a contract or, negotiating with your partner to get better countertops when you're doing a renovation. It's like the only way you get better at this stuff is with practice and with talking about it. So I believe contract negotiation does not have to be adversarial. I believe it can be strategic, but I think really importantly in the hospitality business specifically is we are all in this for the long haul. And we can no longer be those people pounding our fists on the table like wild animals saying, give me what I want, give me what I want. And we can't be petulant children about negotiating anymore because at the end of that negotiation, you've got to fulfill the contract, right? And either I have to be the steward of that or you have to fulfill it or vice versa. So if you create this adversarial situation at the beginning, nobody's going to want to host your meeting for you. Nobody is going to want to fulfill your whatever the contract terms are for you. So I really believe in just building these deep relationships along the way, listening really deeply as people are talking about what's important to them. Right. So if a hotel is telling me, they're talking about, maybe their food and beverage, their price margins are higher on food and beverage than they are on guest rooms, which is rare, but I have worked with hotels that are like that. In the back of my head, I'm going to think about a bargaining chip that's meaningful that helps them get to where they need to be with food and beverage if that helps me get to where I need to get to with room rate. So I think listening deeply along the way, taking good notes, and then approaching it is like, this is the beginning of a relationship. We're going to get to where we need to go. And then I've got to really rely on these people to be my partners to fulfill the contract. I think it's really important. It doesn't have to be adversarial. And we've got to look at this as a long-term relationship that we're building.
Absolutely. Especially in hospitality. You're absolutely right. Because I think people tend to get in this industry, they stay in it forever because we love it. Whether you switch sides, right? You go from the supply side or you're the hotel itself. So that's really important. Another thing you hit on there is everybody has multiple variables. Everybody has things that they really want or need that they are willing to trade for. So the other thing that I really kind of glean from that is being prepared, taking really good notes and understanding what your values are, what the other person's values are, and you'll get there, right?
I go into this is something I teach, and I think we had talked off camera before. I teach at SDSU, San Diego State University, and I teach contract negotiation. And one of the first things I teach is to go into every contract negotiation prepared. You have your list of your must-haves, your nice-to-haves. You have your list of things they've mentioned to you along the way that you believe are important to them. I think you have to go into every negotiation important with this particular list so you can trade out like trading cards along the way and you can be prepared. And all this negotiation, 9 times out of 10 happens over an email, but life moves quickly and you'll forget this stuff along the way. So I do believe in making lists and being very prepared in that process.
Yep. And then everybody wins. That's what you want to get to, a win-win. That's fantastic. So when we talk about the group and meeting space, obviously what a transition we've had over the last 5 years. I mean, we all know that we went to 0, 0, 0 across the board during COVID. And now meetings and groups is coming on strong. We've got a lot of companies, Revenade's one of them, with a lot of remote workers who need to come together and get together. So how have you seen the space change over the last couple years, and how are hotels thinking about it? Has it changed at all, or what's your impression there?
There's so much change that I've been seeing happening, and a lot of it is good. Some of it is a growing pain of everything, but I think most of it is good. So from the meeting standpoint, like you said, with the distributed workforce right now, instead of an annual meeting, I've been seeing quarterly business reviews, right? So instead of this annual meeting for 300, 400, 500, 600 people, people are actually saying, hey, we've got our remote workers. We want to get together with them on a regional basis. So they may meet all at the same time in Texas, Chicago, Pacific Northwest, Southeast. And that meeting might be for 2.5 days for 40 people. And then you still have your annual meeting, but the quarterly business reviews I have seen be more frequent. The regional team meetings I have seen be more frequent. And again, this is all to accommodate, to build the team atmosphere. Obviously, you're going to be talking about best practices and strategies and reviewing P&Ls and all that stuff, right? But there's a little more, the content wise, there's more focus on how do we build this team? How do we get people to network with each other? And you have to remember a large portion of the workforce came into the workforce. They graduated college. Their last 2 years were during COVID. They graduated college. Now they're forced into this work environment where it's stressful to interact, right? So, there's the content is very focused on how do we incorporate networking? How do we, and it's not your normal like networking over a happy hour, right? There's a wellness component. There's a literally teaching people how to crash a circle and have a conversation component. So I've seen the types of meetings be added, but I've also seen the content change quite a bit as well. And then from the hotel perspective, hotels, I feel so bad for my hotel partners. They've had to make a lot of food and beverage changes, which I think is great, but it's very difficult to keep up with, right? So the dietary restrictions, right? Gluten-free, dairy-free. Everybody got healthy during COVID. And if you didn't get healthy during COVID, you got sick during COVID, and now you're getting healthy coming out of COVID. So people are being more thoughtful about how they travel and how they go on the road and what they eat and when they eat. So hotels are relooking at their menus quite a bit. And then they're also, I've had some hotel partners talk to me about beverage. The alcohol consumption is down. And they're asking me like, hey, why does this look weird on my P&L? I'm like, you need to upgrade your mocktail program. And your mocktail program can't just be like a weird soda water and some sugary drink. That's not acceptable. It has to be thoughtful and interesting and cool. So I've just seen from a hotel standpoint, menus change quite a bit. Staffing, obviously, I'm a broken record with staffing. I won't go there, but there evolutions upon evolutions upon evolutions on staffing. I think for the most part, hotels have gained their footing there. I think the menus are the biggest thing I've seen a difference in, and then the programming.
Yeah, so I just was laughing while you were talking about that, because I just think in my own journey in the last 5 years, I've probably been vegan, keto, gluten-free, dairy-free. Like I'm not drinking now. It's like everybody's changing all the time. And so, God forbid, on that meeting survey goes out, like, what are your dietary restrictions? I can imagine the hotel is just thinking, oh my gosh, here it comes. So,
And I think from a buyer standpoint, I think immediately coming out of COVID, the dietary restrictions where the hotel was charging extra, which was bad, right? Because there's a way to do this where the hotel can be profitable and it doesn't put out those people that are, which is now almost 50% of the attendees that have a dietary restriction. So, like, I have a sustainability client who they have to have an all vegan menu. And, 10 years ago, this was a push that we had to get. And now it's easier than ever. And the prices are the same. So I think hotels are figuring it out. And if they're not figuring it out, I would really encourage them to relook at it. One last thing about programming and food, I'll tie it together, is You don't have to feed your people 3 times a day. I know hotels want that revenue, but if you've got a great bar and restaurant on property, you can feed them. They wake up, they eat breakfast on their own, they go to the meeting, give them a delicious brunch at 10:45. Make sure you triple up on the protein. Hotels will make money on that, right? And then you're not feeding them sugary, crashy sweets in the afternoon. So that way their brains are a little more focused on the content in the afternoon. And then have a great happy hour with appetizers or have a great dinner. But just know people are going to go explore. They're going to enjoy your restaurant. Like, you don't need to feed them 3 times a day, but the hotel can still make the money they need to make while still giving good options, healthy options, if that's what people desire to. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Just rethink it. Rethink it. Okay, so the other thing you hit on is staffing. And I know that I would love to talk about that because I think in today's environment, I just think, oh my gosh, we were already in a staffing crisis with hotels. I think now it's gotten even worse. But what are your feelings on staffing and how do we adjust for it in the industry?
You and I have both been out this many years, right? And I love the hospitality industry, but it's just like every long relationship. You are painfully aware of the warts and of the Achilles heel and everything. And I think we as an industry have a tendency to use the abacus instead of the chat GPT. I think there's so many processes that we have, and I think staffing is one of them, that we just haven't caught up to what is needed. I'll give you an example. On my team, I've got 6 people that work for me. 3 of them are Gen Zers. 1 of them is in college, okay? The college person has worked for me since she was a senior in high school. She's just as valuable as the baby boomer on my team, right? Everybody has their contributions. But as a leader, I understand that at the beginning of the semester, her semester, I'm going to have to ask her, hey, when are your sorority functions? When are your midterms? When are your finals? Let's work around that. What are your pressure points? When can you take on more work? When do you have less work? Let's balance this out. Let's look ahead at this. And this has been very symbiotic, right? This has worked. She works really hard. But what I see still happening is some really great college students that work the front desk or work valet or work some of these hotel jobs, and their supervisors don't understand that they're cramming for finals. They're up until midnight cramming for finals. They're in at 6 a.m. They're working that first shift, and then they're leaving and go to classes. And they're having unrealistic expectations of them. And I know many of my Gen X counterparts are going to be like, we had to do it. They're going to have to do it. That's not how it is anymore. We have got to understand if we want to build the bench of this hospitality industry, we have got to really look at who our stars are, and we got to work with them, manage each person the way you would lead a team. I'm on the board for the California Hotel Lodging Association, the Hospitality Foundation. We give scholarships to students that are pursuing an education in hospitality, or they just have a hospitality job. And the common thing they say to me all the time at the annual gala that we have is, we love this industry, but we don't know how we can work these shifts and pursue a postgraduate degree. We don't know how we can work these shifts and finish college. And I think if we want to really lift the industry up as leaders, we've got to lead a little bit differently. I think we have to recruit differently. So I've got a friend who owns a barbecue restaurant in San Diego, and he didn't use Indeed or LinkedIn or put an ad out. He stood on the rooftop of his restaurant with signs like in excess. Remember, like that what you need, that video we all loved. And he flipped the cue cards, and it says, you want to work in a cool environment with cool people. Are you a cool person? Do you smile? Do you love food? And he flipped it, and it was a 30-second video he posted on TikTok. He posted on Instagram. He had hundreds of applications. And I think we need to look at our recruitment. We need to go where the people are. You want innovation, you want somebody interested, you've got to recruit on TikTok. You've got to recruit on Snapchat and Instagram. You can't just keep doing what we've already been doing. So those are my thoughts on staffing. I have operational thoughts on staffing, but those are my thoughts on leading and recruiting.
Leading and recruiting. And I think flexibility is what I'm hearing you say there as well, because whether it's a college student or a new parent or someone with children that have to come in and out of school. And obviously, if you're front of house and you're customer facing, that's a little bit different than if you're in the back office. But
either way, you're competing in an environment where jobs have a lot more flexibility than they ever had in the past. So if you have a hotel, I think to your point, you have to think differently. And also, do you want to, if you want to attract somebody who's spontaneous and fun, then your approach to recruiting them should also be spontaneous.
If that's what you want, right? If you don't want spontaneous and fun, but maybe you want strategic, maybe you want, somebody who's good at math, maybe you've got to think through how you're going to recruit them in a totally different way. And then I think keeping people here. This is the thing I hear over and over and over again from the people on my team and then from hotel salespeople is they are willing to work at a hotel or a restaurant if somebody actually cares about them. Like ask deep questions. Like have a great business bedside manner, build that relationship, ask what's on tap for the weekend, what made you laugh this week, what are you proud of right now, what are you struggling with. Ask the question and actually listen to the answers. This workforce, they want to be known and they want to know you. So we've got to really change how we interact with each other too, so we can sustain these long-term employment relationships.
That's right. So business bedside manner. So that is a term that you've coined and you just used it in context, but I would love to get a little bit more. Can you explain a little bit more what that means?
Oh my gosh, this business bedside manner I trademarked and went through the registered trademark process. I am so passionate about this. I was riding my bike during COVID. I was on the Bayshore bike path in San Diego, and I had just had a deal gone awry with an asset manager of a hotel. So, during COVID, some of the directors and sales and marketing weren't even working there anymore. I was talking to owners and general counsel and asset managers half the time, right? And they were great, but it was an education process on both sides. I was educating them, they were educating me, and it was an awful deal. And I was so mad. I was just ranting in my head and writing and just voice to texting on my bike. And the results of this is business bedside manner. And I kept saying in my head, we will forgive, but we won't forget. Like when we come out of this, we all have to find a way to work together. We can't be so hard and fast on these things right now because we've got to find a way to sustain these relationships and work together. So business bedside manner, it's your approach. Who are you in business? Who do you think you are in business versus how other people see you in business? And how do you show up? There's a big disparity between who we think we are versus how other people see us. And business bedside manner is that challenge to that approach, really looking inward at that approach. There's 4 key components to business bedside manner. There's 5 questions you can ask to get a deeper relationship with business bedside manner. And then there's 6 tech hacks that you can use to develop an unstoppable business bedside manner. So I use this with a lot of hospitality companies in my speaking and coaching, but a lot of people were asking me, can you write a book about it? So I've written a book about it. So that'll come out. The Business Bedside Manner book will come out next year. But it's like one of those things where I wasn't going to write a book about it, and people started asking, and I'm like, I'll do it if it's like if it's a little buddy, because nobody's reading long books anymore. But I want people to start with what is business bedside manner, at the end be like, oh, this is my business bedside manner, and oh, here's some activations that I can actually do and apply to my business with my business bedside manner.
So prior to your book coming out, is there a place where people could go to kind of get the headline of this, or is this just part of something in your speaking engagements and then the book will come if you're not in the room?
They can go to mandygraziano.com, Mandy with an I, Graziano with a Z. There's a business bedside manner tab there. And if you follow me on any, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, I feel like I'm every 5th post I'm talking about business bedside manner. I think we desperately need this. One of the key components is practice empathy. And we all think we're empathetic, but we're not as empathetic as we could be. Empathetic doesn't mean roll over and let people walk all over you. Empathetic means, just listening deeply and actually taking action, but also being assertive and setting boundaries. So I just think in the business world right now, we desperately need to retool our business bedside manners.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to all of that coming out. And obviously, we'll put everything in the show notes so people know where to find you. The last thing I want to talk about is your podcast. So we have that in common too. Yeah, let's talk about the podcast. So what's the name of it? What's the topic? Where can people find it? All the goods.
Yeah, it's Adventures in Business Live. And we are everywhere you can get a podcast. So Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And then we have a YouTube channel. We're on Instagram. We're everywhere. But the trick about it is it's once a week. It's live. It's 1:00 Pacific Standard Time. So people can actually jump in the chat and ask our guests questions live too. And then after that, then we repurpose it with the clips and all the evergreen content. So, you can watch it on YouTube or you can come join us live on Mondays at 1:00. On LinkedIn is the funnest and easiest way. But if you're not into LinkedIn, you can join us live on YouTube. And we interview CEOs, founders, and thought leaders about their trips and triumphs and struggles and successes in business. So it's not just hospitality focused. We interview people from all different industries from around the world. And we're not an I Gotcha podcast. We really lift people up, but we want it to feel like a masterclass to the audience of what is this person going through with their adventures in business. So at the end of it, you can feel like I got something out of it. I was entertained and I have some practical, tactical tips I can use in my business after.
Very cool. I love that. And kudos to you. It's a live broadcast, which is always fun. You never know.
Yeah,
So
I've learned a
keeps
lot
it
about
exciting.
anything can happen. Anything can happen.
That's so cool. So the last question for you, Mandy, what are you most excited about for the future of hospitality, especially as we navigate the next few years of change and everything that's going on right now? What really lights you up?
I have a lot of hope about the bench of our business. I really do. I think this generation coming up is creative. They are conscious. I think that they care, and I don't think we give them enough credit. I think Gen Z, once you wind them up, you give them a blueprint, you wind them up and watch them go. I think they're really unbeatable. We have to tap into that, right, and coach them, bring the best out of them. But I'm very encouraged about this next generation coming up. We just interviewed on our podcast, we interviewed a 15-year-old named Madison who's interested in the hospitality industry. And she gave us some great tips on how to be better hospitality leaders. So I love talking to that 15 to 30-year-old. Like, what do we need to know as leaders? What are you looking for when you travel? What lights you up kind of thing. And so, we talked to her, but I'm involved in some other organizations where I just feel very encouraged about this next generation.
I love it. And the fact that you're teaching at San Diego State, you're teaching that generation and getting people excited about the industry, negotiation, navigating their career is very cool. So, Mandy, it's been a great pleasure. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Hotel Moment by Revinate. Our community of hoteliers is growing every week, and each guest we speak to is tackling industry challenges with the innovation and flexibility that our industry demands. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe for more content. For more information, head to revinate.com/Hotel Moment Podcast. Until next time, keep innovating.